Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your podcast, Scientist for Fun. I'm Shipra, working as a neuroscientist. And today we have our first online guest, Darcy.
Thanks for having me.
So, Darcy is a healthcare and doctoral candidate, 7 years of experience bridging translational science, clinical research, and biotech entrepreneurship. She leads business development, early fundraising, and strategic planning as a part of the Nucleate Activator program. In parallel, Darcy is a venture capital fellow at DigitalDx Ventures, where she evaluates and supports high impact healthcare technology investments. Her research background includes roles at Harvard Medical School and Nova Southeastern University, contributing to clinical informatics, neuroimaging, wow, that's interesting, and space flight related neurodegeneration studies. She has co authored multiple peer reviewed publications and presented nationally on neuroscience, informatics, and patient centered care. Now, what's the interesting part? Well, since she's a businesswoman, she also holds an MBA in Health Information Technology from Johns Hopkins, Carey Business School. Her work is driven by a passion of advancing innovations that integrate science, business, and patient advocacy with the goal of creating equitable access of cutting edge healthcare solution. Wow, that's a lot of information for our audience to process, Darcy.
I have never actually heard it all at once. This is amazing.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you are here, and I'm pretty sure that audience will have a lot of things to learn from you because you are in a sweet spot between like business and communication, right? That and communication also involves scientific communication. So you know what happens in the lab as a wet lab researcher, how world is processing all those information, and you as a communicator put this out in the world,
Yes.
right?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, because I mean it's very important. I feel we as scientists are so much into our research. We I would not say we cannot do it, but we are less into translating our research and we are more into that one mechanism, that one process, like digging deep into it.
Right.
And then we feel that okay, I'm working on this particular topic and this person should like know this. But then from a general audience perspective, how would you like to tell us about your company?
Sure, yeah. So that's an excellent point. I feel like as researchers, we often are honed in on just one small aspect and we don't often see, the pathway. And I think I've had that unique experience of, starting in a lab with, running PCR, running Western blots all the way up to, could this drug be a candidate for clinical trials? About my company, so we are a small startup. I have the most amazing team, the most brilliant minds working with me. I met them when I was young in my undergraduate career at Brandeis University, and they have trained me and molded me and helped me become the scientist that I am today. So an amazing team. And yeah, we are looking into, there's such a market need and such a gap in treatment for Alzheimer's and treatment for Parkinson's and other CNS ailments. And I think a lot of the drugs on the market are just focused on one thing and they're not really reaching the neuroinflammatory aspect of Alzheimer's. They are treating the symptoms after patients have been diagnosed, but can there be something to work better? And we are looking at HDAC11, so that's a prominent HDAC in the brain, and we're seeing can the inhibition of that lead to cognitive improvement.
Interesting. So, would you tell us a bit more about this HDAC inhibitors? Because I know there are people from business and different background who might not understand what HDAC is. Darcy, your voice is.
HDAC11 is an enzyme in the histone deacetylase family. So it's a regulator of gene and immune signaling. So it has that double-sided situation. So unlike other HDACs, it's the only member of its class, so it plays a specific unique role in inflammation and brain health. And that is kind of why we chose that HDAC as a target. We have numerous HDACs. There's 3, there's 6, there's a ton. But in Alzheimer's, because there's inflammation, And there's changes in how the brain regulates proteins like amyloid and tau. So HDAC sits kind of at this key crossroad. So it influences both neuroinflammation and cellular metabolism. So our hope is that the inhibition of this will protect the nerve, slowing and even stopping inflammation, which will then improve brain resilience.
Interesting. That's like very well explained. So, do you think Alzheimer is mostly a gender or sex-based disease? Gender would be a wrong word to use. So, yeah, is it like more prominent in females as compared to males, or more in males as compared to females?
So I think that's a really good point you bring up. Alzheimer's disproportionately affects women. And I think that can be taken back to the fact that a lot of research, even in mice, is focused on the male mice rather than the female mice. And we've seen that a ton. There's a ton of literature on that. So to know actually the percentage of male versus female, we'd have to go back to how is it diagnosed, when is it diagnosed. So women, as I said, disproportionately are affected. About 2/3 of people with Alzheimer's are female. Now, could this be because women live longer? That could be a part of it, but biology plays a role too. Hormone changes after menopause are a really big factor in brain connectivity and immune response. So I think, yes, it disproportionately affects women, and our bodies are so different. I think, and I talk about this all the time when I pitch, and when I talk to other scientists. There's such a need for more research specifically for Alzheimer's for women, because clearly we are more affected. Therefore, a lot of the research should be more targeted toward women.
I totally agree with you. I mean, this is the most important statement, audience, that yes, we need a lot more research into women's health. So yeah, this is a good amount of information, and actually good amount of background information that we have about you. Now diving into communication, and before that, we really want to know who you are as a human being. So we have quick questions, like pretty fun questions.
Sure.
So for our audience, okay, if they want to know what is Darcy's nature. So if I ask, are you an introvert, extrovert, ambivert, and what kind of personality do you have, and how has that shaped the way you connect with people at work?
I love this question. I'm an extrovert. I will go up to you. I've never met you before. Hi, I'm Darcy. It's so nice to meet you. Connect on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Let me get your phone number. My mom has been really formative in that. She said, they can't say no to you unless you ask. And that, whether it's, do you want to be my friend? Do you want to connect And I think that really shaped, honestly, my everyday, how I am, because, you just never know. Be your boss, they could be your future coworker, they could be your best friend, and you never know unless you put yourself out there. So I think I'm one of the biggest extroverts I know.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway from this question is that if you never ask, the answer is definitely going to be no.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you. Like, that person could be a coworker, your best friend, like your mentor. You never know. I know it's very hard for introvert people or ambivert people to, put themselves out, even if they're very good at their work. But remember, it just takes a bit of courage and a little bit of confidence to just put yourself out and just say, hi, I am so and so, and this is what I do. And then if you don't like it, you can always say no, or you can just set a boundary. But not asking itself means you are in your shell and you need to break that shell.
Absolutely.
Right? Perfect. So next question for you. Are you kind of a planner, or do you prefer improvising? Like, which has helped you more in leadership role, and why?
Excellent question. So my calendar right now over my desk, every day, little. However, learned, from just taking on so many roles, and being in like various schools at the same time, you have to leave room between the bullet points. I used to get extremely worked up if I had a plan and I didn't finish the plan, but that was more harm than good. So I think including room to improvise, or let me push this task to tomorrow, has helped me more than trying to keep such a rigid schedule. I think in leadership, taking on these leadership roles as I have, you need to have you need to have a skeleton, right? If the skeleton isn't there, the foundation's not there, nothing will get done. But if you try to, put a femur where a tibia is, whatever,
Mhm.
it's not going to work. You have to have that flexibility within the skeleton so that, you can grow and develop.
Yes, I totally agree with you. It's like you have a skeleton, you have a foundation ready, but you are not really strict with it, and you have that space where you can improvise based on the needed situation or whatever there is like important at that moment of time.
Exactly.
Correct? Correct. Yes. And so I know you have a lot of experience with pitching an idea, and when you are CEO of a startup, you are wearing many hats at a time. And then you have to you are doing your grad school. You also have a business degree. Then at the same time, you're pitching your idea. There's a lot of work going on, like a lot. But
Yes.
then, what is the biggest ritual that you do before presentation, and that would also help aspiring scientist or working professional or who wants to be a communicator in the field?
Yes, that's a good question. This took me a few years to do. So, being on the younger side, I feel like I'm so young. Being on the younger side, in some of these roles that I'm in, I think before big pitches or big presentations, like you were saying, I do get nervous and I do have this imposter syndrome, which I think we've all faced. Again, this disproportionately affects women. We feel more of the imposter syndrome. So I definitely feel this, even now. And I actually started keeping a list in my notes app, and it's pinned. And in that list, I have a list of just my accomplishments. It can be, it says remember when you presented at blah. Remember that you did this. And I read that 30 seconds before I go on stage to pitch or before I have a big meeting, and I'm like, well, I did that, so I can do this. Like, I already did that, so now I can do this. And I said it's one more thing to add to the list after. And that's really helped me a lot, because I think a lot of us don't realize how many things we've accomplished leading up to a big presentation. And if it's your first presentation or your first pitch, you've accomplished many other things that aren't pitching, that aren't presenting, that you should look at and say, wow, I did that. Now I can do this.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned about the list, and you just take a look at it 30 seconds before you're presenting, and that kind of boosts up your energy. And you brought up a really good point that says that we are so much busy chasing our career that we kind of forget, or we tend to forget where we were like 10 years ago and where we are now.
Right.
And then we need to see that list of accomplishment that says that, okay, you did that, now you can do this.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's like I would say the best answer I've heard so far.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
It's really helped. That's not one of the things I say, oh, I do this. I actually do this.
Wow. And yeah, based on that, when you are presenting, there are people coming up to you and they say, oh, Darcy, you did a great job and we learned so many things about it. But then from there, you also talk to people, you exchange numbers, emails, whatever, and you get in touch. And that is what is networking, right? And somehow, like that's how we got connected, right? So I just approached you on LinkedIn and I thought that, oh, I like her profile. She's cool. Let me just talk to her. Forget about that company for now. All right. So coming back to the same question. So did you have any incidents in your life where your networking did not go well, but again, just because of one experience, you did not stop networking?
Yes, one comes to mind. I was sharing this with my younger brother and sister who are now trying to network in their own fields. They're in undergrad, so I shared the story with them. I really wanted to connect with this big company at one of the conferences I was going to. I really liked their products and I wanted to know more about the science behind their products, and I wanted to do some sort of internship or fellowship with them, okay? The company will remain unnamed. And I had messaged the CEO on LinkedIn, 5 or 6 times, no response. And I was telling my friends, I'm crazy for messaging this guy. I'm crazy. He's never going to respond to me. And then I was like, why wouldn't he respond to me? I'm writing some nice messages. I see that he's active on LinkedIn. I'm trying to network with this guy. I start connecting with people in his inner circle. And he writes back to me and he says, Miss Tochi, that's my last name. Tochi, you are politely persistent. That's all he said. And I said, oh, no one's ever said that to you before. Is that a good thing? And he said, no. And that was the last time I messaged him for a while, and then I did wind up seeing him at a conference. But that definitely was like, I'm persistently, politely persistent.
I think being persistent and consistent is one of the most important characteristic, irrespective of which profession you are into. If you have these two qualities, I know it's hard, it gets frustrating with time that you're waiting on somebody and that person is not getting back to you. But then yes, this is what keeps you like going, to be persistent and consistent, like politely persistent, right?
Politely persistent, yeah. So I live by those words. I took it as a compliment. So
Yeah,
that was something
that's true.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, that was like funny and indeed learning. A good lesson, I would say.
True story.
So moving on, we all, as you mentioned, I think a couple of minutes ago, about the imposter syndrome. And no matter how great we are at whatever we are doing, we can be an expert. But there is a time in life where you feel that I am not good enough, and that's when the imposter syndrome comes in. So how do you push through that situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think it's a linear thing. I think we all have ebbs and flows with imposter syndrome, especially, being in this line of work and, talking to different huge CEOs, big pharma companies. You feel like, what, I'm such a small fish in such a big pond. I try to remind myself that being a small fish in a big pond is where you want to be. I say to myself, you wouldn't be here if you shouldn't be here. Like, you would not be here if this was not meant for you.
Correct.
And, I try to remind myself, would you rather be the biggest fish in a pond where you're just swimming? Or would you rather be bumping into bigger fish as a small fish and saying, hey, can you help me? Can you redirect me? And I feel like that's my life. Like, I am a small fish in a huge pond, but I like it. You have to be comfortable with that discomfort. Like, you have to know, like, I have the most to learn and I'm ready to learn. And I don't think of it, I tell my siblings or, children, kids that I tutor at school, you should be comfortable with knowing that you don't know a lot, but you should be confident to know that you can get to a point where you do know a lot. And I think that's kind of how I deal with the imposter syndrome.
I think that's one of the best takeaways for today, that you might be a small fish in a big pond, but then that doesn't make you any small, right? And you just meet someone and you just talk to them, and that's where communication comes into the picture, networking comes into the picture. I know many people, like friends of mine, co-workers, they are great at the job, but they're introvert, and they're like, how can I just go and say hi? Use your mouth, say hi. It is as simple as that. I mean, like, the other person is not going to eat you up.
Exactly. The other person got a punch in the face for saying hello.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. Yeah. So coming back to our next question, I generally ask this question from every guest because I really want to know that what is your perspective and how can audience learn from this. So bridging science and business, what's the communication challenge that you have been facing or have you faced in the past?
Excellent question. I actually was talking about this in a meeting earlier. So, having a strong science background that started, I was in programs in high school focused on science. I feel that I'm very well versed in the science that I know. And, having gotten an MBA, I also feel that I'm not as well versed, but getting more well versed in the business. So we have these two very, very, very different entities, right? And I think a communication challenge has been, when you're pitching at events or you're talking to investors, you have sort of the PhD sector where they know, down to the molecule, much more than I could ever know. And then you have on this side the venture capitalists that all have an MBA from top university, and you have to sort of say, how can I people, both the business and and the PhD and the science, about your technology? And I think what has helped me is three separate decks in your head, or three separate things you want to talk about. You are only talking to D. Let's talk about each specifically. Where is it binding to? What is PB151? What's that target compound? That's one. Talking to the business people, what will we do with funding? How will we develop where you can make money if you're investing, right? And then I sort of have this third sweet spot that I really try to use, where I'm talking a little, I'll say step 11 is very prominent in the brain, and its function is X, Y, and Z. And then I also have this small other where I'm saying we need this money to further toxicology studies. So I kind of have these three separate entities that I pull out depending on who I'm speaking to. And it took me a long time to realize that, but you can't just have one rigid pitch or even a conversation. You really have to know your audience. And I think that took me a long time to learn, and I'm still learning that. But even today I had a meeting, and it was a mix of venture capitalists and PhDs, and I kind of had to use that middle ground so that, one person wasn't understanding this more than that person. And I think that really helped in the meeting and helps in general.
That's wonderful to know. So, building up on that, how do you convince the investors? Because sometimes, like I know you have a pitch that's like prepared, and then you know that your investors, they are not a scientist, like maybe not even from a science background. So then, what makes you believe that you can convince them to invest in your project?
I think for the business people specifically, showing them what their return on the investment look like, how have other similar programs been successful, and still trying to not teach them, but almost still trying to get them to understand your science and how passionate you are. I think a lot of the times when people see your passion and you like, I believe this, it has shown excellent in vivo clinical data. Look at this data. Look at how this company turned that data into billions of dollars. This could be us. So kind of showing past examples, and teaching's not the right word, just making them aware, I think, because, a lot of the times, why would a venture capitalist know what HDAC11 is? They wouldn't. That's not their job. But those people oftentimes, they're so educated in the business side that they do want to understand, how will I make my money back? And if it's something interesting, I think that's what drives it.
Yes, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think what you do based on your answer is you basically show them the vision that you see, and you make them believe that this is the vision and this is how it's going to be, and that's how they believe in you, and they kind of do whatever is needed to move forward in the project, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. So, how important has communication been in your journey? Like, did you have any mentor, or how did you learn that communication doesn't mean just talking or blabbering? It also means that, right time, right place with right people.
Yeah, I do think that's a learned skill. My mentors, I've had a few professors from Brandeis University that really, really, I want to say shaped me. And then my current PI, one of my co-founders has mentor. And I think what these mentors all have in common is I think I've just been able to watch them when I was a student, seeing how they communicate with other scientists, other students, other faculty, other professors, and seeing, communication is not just saying, hello, how are you? And walking away. It's, maintaining a relationship, which is difficult when you're so busy, life gets in the way. But I think, learning from sort of a formative age that, communication works both ways. That's number one. And number two, you have to be, I'm using the word persistent, but you do have to be in a friendly and inviting way.
Perfect. So we are almost done with all of the questions. We covered a diverse topic related to communication, but I'm really, really curious to know that what advice would you give to aspiring scientists or aspiring working professionals who are maybe in grad school right now, or maybe they are just new in their venture capital firm, or maybe they are new in startup, because you've been through that, what people are going through, like few groups of people are going through right now. So what are the important lessons, or I don't know, advice would you like to offer?
Yeah, I think my main, I have a few pieces, but I think my main thing would be apply to everything. And I say that with, a grain of salt. Don't apply to, I'm not going to apply to the director of the FDA, right? But
Mhm.
apply to everything that's within your wheelhouse. I never thought I would get a venture capital fellowship. I never thought I would get that, but I wanted it. I talked to myself and, obviously to the people hiring, to the people, hiring, why you'd be a good fit. I think another piece of advice, apply to everything and really hone in on your skills that can be transferred. So your transferable skills, right? I had never done anything in venture, but I did case competitions in my MBA program. So how can that be transferred to venture, right? So really honing in on your past skills and kind of seeing how that can move and shape into what you currently want. Because that oftentimes a lot of people say, oh, I've had no experience in that. Well, you need to just get experience. Like you need to put yourself out there and get experience. I think another big piece of advice is put yourself out there. If you're not comfortable doing it, face to face, do it on LinkedIn. Hey, I saw what you're researching. Hey, I saw what you posted. I think it's amazing. Do you have 15 minutes to chat? I am on at least 3 15-minute calls every day. Every single day, I'm talking to 3 different people that are now my friends, colleagues, people that I've referred to fellowships, I've referred to, things that I've done because of a 15-minute phone call. Those are my favorite. Keep it short, keep it sweet. I want to learn about you. And that's how you make a connection if you don't want to go up to someone in person. I think that's really important.
Exactly. So I think I would agree with all the three suggestions that you have, especially like 15-minute informational interviews. Well, that has even shaped me to who I am today. I would have never done this podcast stuff if somebody did not push me in a way that
Yeah.
okay, you can do it. I mean, yes, we are initiators, we can lead, but sometimes we are also human beings. We
Oh,
are low
absolutely.
on emotion, and we are like, man, I think it's not for me. And then you have that one nudge that no, you can do it.
You can
So
do it.
yes, yeah.
You're doing
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, go girls. We can
Yes.
do it. So, yeah, Darcy, thank you so much for all your advice, all your answers. And I hope you enjoyed sharing the ideas here with audience.
I loved it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I hope people reach out to me and have a 15-minute phone call. I'm very, very down for that.
Oh, absolutely, audience. So please reach out to Darcy. She is an expert, as you can see, you can hear, you can feel. So do reach out to her. And thank you so much, Darcy, for your time. I'm really, really grateful that you gave me your time. You gave all the important lessons that even I got to learn so many things from you. So,
Awesome.
yeah, yes, absolutely. So I hope you all like the show as much as we did putting it up for you. So stay tuned for upcoming episode. And Darcy, thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.